should one maintain the non-immigrant status after filing for I-485?
Yes, I think it's a good idea to do that, especially if you have dependents who might be aging out, because if you do not maintain, so if you maintain it, they'll be on a H4, they continue to be on a H4, and then if they age out, then they will be able to move from a H4 to an F1, to a student status. So it's easy, the transition will be easier. But if you give up your non-immigrant status, and if you have dependents who age out, then they will pretty much fall out of status. So they will then have to leave the country and then apply for an F1 visa at the consulate abroad. So it's a little bit more difficult and also more risky, because they might not, if their visa is denied at the consulate, then they will be stuck outside the country. So that's one reason why you would maintain your non-immigrant status. Another reason would be is if you depend only on your 485 and you give up your non-immigrant status, it could be that your 485 gets denied, because usually the 485 doesn't get denied, but if there are some issues, for example, if your I-140 is not yet approved, I would definitely not give up my non-immigrant status, because the chances of an I-140 denial are much higher than the chances of a 485 denial. So I would at least wait until my I-140 is approved, and even after that, everybody makes their own judgment on it, because there's definitely benefits on being in a 485 pending status, as you can move employers much more easily. You don't have to maintain your H1 status. The terms and conditions of maintaining a H1 are much more onerous, and you can work for anyone really on a 485, as long as you follow the rules and notify USCIS of the change in employer and the job is the same. So there's much more job flexibility. So there's, you have to weigh the advantages and disadvantages and then decide whether you want to give up your non-immigrant status or not. But in general, if you don't have kids who are aging out, and if your I-140 is approved, and if you don't have any reason to believe that your 485 will be denied, like issues with status, maybe some criminal issues, stuff like that. So then you can, not a bad idea to move completely to a 485. Also another thing to remember is, if you move to a 485, then if your dates become current on your EB2 and you've presently filed on an EB3 and you have an EB2 I-140, you cannot then refile another 485 for EB2, because you don't have the status to file another 485. But you could interfile in that situation.